episode. We are back on the Ain't Done Yet podcast. We have a very, very near and dear friend to us, Dr. Jason Jaeger. Thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for coming, Doc.
Heck yeah.
Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
It is always so much fun. I feel like, we've only got to know each other in the last handful of years, but, as the history we'll get to know more about, it's like we've known each other our whole lives.
Yeah.
And you are a native of Las Vegas, born and raised.
That's right.
And we're excited because you have such an interesting story.
Thank you.
Let's get right into it if you don't
mind.
Let's
have fun.
Yeah. Let's do it. So, born and raised in Las Vegas. Where'd you start?
Well, so I'll go back a little further. In the late 40s, my grandfather marched out of Dachau into Berlin, liberated Berlin, and occupied it. And after a year of occupying Berlin, the army brought him back to the States. My mom's side of the family are LDS. And there's a company in Salt Lake called the Young Electric Sign Company, Yesco.
Uh-huh.
So my great-grandfather, Thomas Young Sr., said to his son-in-law,
I know Young. I know Yesco.
Go to Vegas, learn the business. And my grandfather was a captain and ran the big cannons. And his last name's Cannon.
Okay.
Cannon and Young are pretty big LDS families.
Yeah.
And they brought him to Vegas and he learned the business and was president of the Vegas division of Yesco until 76. So that's what brought our family here.
Wow.
All right. All the big major signage that was out on the strip is all Yesco signage, right?
Yeah. Dunes, Vegas Vic, the Flamingo, and the whole Boneyard, which is now a nonprofit and museum.
So cool.
Was the back of our shop that we had run through with a piece of rebar and pop light bulbs to hear the pop sound when we were kids.
You're like, this is cool.
Man, that is some deep Vegas history.
That is deep Vegas history that'll live forever out here, man.
Totally. So that's what brought us here. My mom's older brother, his best friend, Dennis Jaeger, fell in love with my mom, Martha Cannon, and married the boss's daughter when she was 17. My grandfather was pissed. He was so mad. He was like, I'm going to annul the marriage. And they're like, we'll just run off again anyways. So that's where I came from.
Okay.
And of course, back in that day, the Catholic German boy married the Mormon girl, and now she's Catholic.
Right.
So that's how I grew up. I never grew up in the LDS church, but I grew up in the neon sign industry. And since I was 11, I have pushed a broom, put away the tools, wired signs, worked early.
I've had friends that worked there too.
Yeah.
That blue glass, man.
Blue glass.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My buddy Jason blew glass for a long time there.
Cool.
And a long, long history. We're 5 generations of blue collar construction sign guys. So that's what we started in. That's what brought us to Vegas.
That's amazing.
Love it, man. I did not know that about you.
Yeah.
That's so cool. See, dropping. I told you.
Well, I thought I was gonna know. I thought I already knew like the craziest thing about you, and that was that. Ryan invites me to this party years ago, and I'm like, sure, I'll go. And he introduces me to you, and I'm like, man, that guy's familiar, man.
Yeah.
Oh, it's my daughter's doctor. And I'm like, this is crazy, man.
Yeah.
This guy knows like everybody.
He does know everybody.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't walk down the street on the strip with him because everybody's stopping him all the time.
100%. 100%.
Well, that's very similar with you too, Doc. You've been around and you're doing a lot of things. You're helping a lot of people. Before we get into, your business, and I want to talk something that I just was so fascinating to me is when you were growing up here, you graduated from Valley High School.
I did.
Where I played football. My brother, Adrian, graduated from Valley High School. Our parents still live 2 streets from there. And again.
Did you know Adrian back then?
Not when we were in high school.
It was a little bit before,
later.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
He was a little later. And, but it's just so fascinating because like, how did we not know each other? We connected so fast. We played one of your parties.
Yeah.
Otherwise came and played. Thank you, Dr. Alan Shigesh.
Oh, yeah.
He's a good man.
Rock Doc. That's our brother.
Yeah, he truly is.
He's a good man, that guy.
I just talked to him yesterday. You know, he came, I was telling you about when I showed Jason the stage, the area. Alan came to one of the live streams.
Yeah, he sure did.
Alan came here. He was like, dude, this is awesome.
Yeah.
So we're talking about the stage that John had here at Structure where we would play. So we're just connecting all the dots. That's one magical thing about Las Vegas when you dig past the lights and all the glamour and the people who have been here for a long time. Man, the roots are deep and they're strong and they're not as big as you think. So
diving back to, during the pandemic, this business, this trade show business that we have here was completely dead. But we had a stage in the back and the stage was set up and it had all these lights because, we were selling, LED video walls and lighting and truss systems and everything else to all the stages that are out on the strip. And Ryan had this great idea that like, hey, well, we got our tour canceled, so we're not traveling around the US for the next couple of months. Why don't we do some live streams here? Yeah. And that turned into other bands coming out and flying out and doing live streams here too. So, we created a little bit of a business for, about 6 months while everything was shut down. So it was really cool. It was really cool.
So yeah.
From the mind of Ryan Patrick, who claims to be the dumbest guy in the room.
Man, I just play guitar, baby. But speaking about entertainment, you have a background in entertainment. And this was one of the most fascinating things because I would say, I would go to that show as a kid and I saw you. You were like a living superhero to us. You were the pirate that flew across in the treasure island. Okay, so please tell us a little bit how you got into a role and what you did on the strip. And
going back in time, in high school at Valley, I was out at Sunset Park, walking around the lake with the girl I was dating at the time, holding hands, maybe hoping I'd get a kiss. And this guy walks up to us, ended up being a Hallmark photographer. He's like, hey, would you guys do this photo session? We're like, what's going on? Right? Yeah. Well, it turned into, we were like the teenage face of Hallmark. So our photos were in Hallmark all over the country. That turned into getting a modeling agent. And
the guy just came up to you when you were trying to get a kiss.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Like, come on, man.
Awesome, man. You're like,
I'm busy here.
Yeah.
All right.
Come on.
Cock blocking.
So the modeling thing turned into doing fashion runway and into doing like magazines and photo shoots.
Alex, can we just to get everybody, can you pull up a quick picture of young Jason Jaeger? It's a black and white shot. Let's see here. That guy right there.
There we go.
Let's see here. Woo!
So this photo shoot, what we were trying to do is I was trying to get the Obsession Calvin Klein ad. You remember the ad that was kind of bronze and all the naked boys and girls were standing on the different pedestals?
Yeah.
Yep.
I was trying to get that ad with this photo. So
yeah, that was like Kate Moss era stuff, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. The photographer was Weber. Weber was this famous photographer that did all of the top models. And Bruce Weber. I didn't get it because he said my nose was too wide and I wasn't quite what he was looking for, but I was in the running. So,
okay.
So I got to do some cool fashion stuff in the States. And then that photo, I think I was 17 years old in Valley High School. And I got a contract to go to Milan and do runway. So I went, I bought a one-way ticket, packed a bag, my boombox, all my rock and roll CDs and my Cure and Depeche Mode CDs, moved to Milan, and I did it. I made it like 3 months. When I came back to Vegas, in Vegas, I had Mini Celeb that I'd gotten to do that. So the show producer came up and the first show was the Excalibur jousting show. They're like, we want big, tall, straight, masculine guys. We don't want like the dancer boys. We want a man show. And so we're going to train you with Parisian stuntmen to be jousting sword fighters. So I did that for 3 years. And then that led into Steve Wynn saying, he goes, I can do better than that. We're going to build a multi-million-dollar pirate ship set. And we're going to bring in Hollywood stunt coordinators and we're going to do the pirate show.
Nice.
So that's where you
Man,
started.
oh
You were in
gosh,
high
it's-
school.
I'm over here. No,
Or younger.
I was like young. I was
Younger.
Yeah, I was a little younger.
And we're 22,
Yeah.
right? We're
Mhm.
we're just barely men, but you know,
Mhm.
we could grow some scruff to try to look older, but we're boys.
Right.
And it's the Motley Crue rock and roll Harley era then. So we're growing out our hair and growing goatees and
Oh yeah.
starting to get tattoos and riding Harleys. And we had a really cool celeb in Las Vegas because we were the jousting sword fighters and then we were the pirates.
Okay.
And so, I mean, like
What year is this? Like, take us back and lock us into a time frame.
the Excalibur show was 1988. So I
Yep.
got out of Milan, came back. They're like, hey, do you want to do this sword fighting jousting show? Yes. And then the pirate show was 93.
Okay.
Okay, so that's the era.
Yeah.
Yep.
And
You're 22 in 93 then.
22, just turning 23 in September.
Okay.
So, yeah.
All right, cool.
I've tried to
very cool.
explain this to Jason too, is that my brother and I, our parents would take us out, you know, and watching the pirate show was such a treat for us. And my brother, 8 years older than me, we would watch the pirate show and we would watch the pirate who jumped from the one ship to the
I
other.
remember the swing on the
Yeah.
rope. Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that you?
So what we decided to do was there was so many egos with and with the era in 88 of how men were in 88, it was still like, I'm cooler than you. I'm going to fight you. Like that was the psyche then.
Yeah.
And between 88 and 93, people were starting to chill out. There may have been a music scene where people were getting more into their psychedelic element, right? People were getting cooler.
Mhm.
So we wanted to build this culture at the Treasure Island show of everybody being brothers.
Cool.
And we knew as a young 18-year-old boy in Excalibur, I knew what didn't work there. And then I was older and a little more seasoned with Treasure Island, so we could shape it.
Okay.
So we all did the same part. So nobody was cooler, better, higher, lower than everybody.
It's so interesting that in a business that direction would sit down and have such deep conversations
Yeah.
about something that, you know, an on-viewer may not notice
Yep.
consciously, but unconsciously notices, you know?
Big time.
So it's just like there's so many things I think in life and things that are done on set and on
Yeah.
TV and everything that are done for specific reasons. Some are negative reasons, some are
Mhm.
positive reasons, but you know, kind of the note to self is that these things are happening behind the scenes. These thought processes are happening and being implemented. And a lot of the times we're not even realizing those
yeah.
things consciously, right?
Totally.
It sounds like you were already, you know, being innovative, like within the space as entertainers.
Yeah, because I mean, as a kid, I always, some of us are wired optimistic, some are wired pessimistic, some are positive, some are negative, whatever. I was really wired optimistic. And so the environment at Excalibur, it was a downer. Like it was a bummer. And so we had this opportunity to do it different, do it right with some of the guys. And then we had an opportunity to make sure that, you know, some of the bad actors didn't get to be a part of our culture. And we built something that's beautiful. Those men and women are still today my best friends. I'm out with them to dinner, socially, riding Harleys. Like these are my best friends, right? Because what we built.
That's very cool.
Yeah.
That's very cool. It's like teammates, right?
Yeah.
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 Teammates, bandmates,
Right.
Friendships forged in fire, right?
Yeah.
Like you work through diversity and what that does
Sure.
to you. Yeah.
Those things are so important too, you know, important to build relationships and long lasting relationships like that. Y'all
Yeah.
went through that same kind of, and it wasn't a ton of people going through it. It was just you guys going through it.
Yeah.
Right. It's like the only person who knows what I know is you.
That's
And
right.
you and you and you. Right. That's
Totally.
cool.
Yeah.
Totally.
So after Treasure Island, you know, continue with this awesome story and tell us where you went from
So
there.
hard gear shift. Come back from Milan, do the stunt shows. And I'm like, well, if I'm going to come back to Vegas, I'm going to go to college. So go to college, start like a communications bachelor's background, but I'm pretty quickly, I'm going to go into law. Just a total different shift. But the entertainment was something that I loved and I enjoyed and I wanted to express and give and get out of my system. But then I always wanted to do something professional. So I go into pre-law and I get on my way to the Excalibur, I get into a horrible car crash, terrible car crash. I go 50 miles an hour into the front axle of a Gran Torino at Maryland and Flamingo. And just, it completely totals my truck. And police officer watched the whole thing happen. Other guy was at fault. He let me hop into the car because it's small town Vegas. Took me to the Excalibur so I could get there on time to do the show. Fought 2 shows. Got a ride home because I didn't have a truck. Woke up the next day, I couldn't move. I wasn't paralyzed, but I was in so much debilitating pain and so scared and so shocked I couldn't move. And like, what do you do when you don't know what to do as a young boy? What do you do? What do you do? I call mom.
Call mom.
I call mom.
You know what? Yes.
I didn't want to. At first, I didn't want to admit. Yeah. That was my answer at first. I didn't want to say right away.
Yeah. So I call mom and I'm like, Mom, what do I do? And then what she tells me I need to do, I don't want that advice. She's like, oh, you're going to go to my chiropractor. I'm like, I'm not going to a chiropractor. What the hell is that? And she's like, you're going to my chiropractor, Dr. Stephanie Youngblood, a super famous chiropractor in the country and in Nevada and in Vegas. And I fought her and then her voice elevated. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I got to go do it.
Right. So she calls my 2 bros. They have to literally pick me up out of bed, carry me, drive me to the chiropractor. Chiropractor says, don't worry, I got this. And she's like, I'm going to do an exam on you. And she does an exam on you. You guys, everything I'm going to tell you right now has predicated everything I've done for 20 years in these like moments. Does an exam, takes an x-ray, and she's like, your neck is supposed to have a curve in it. And your neck's straight. That's why you can't walk. Because your brain controls every function in your body, every muscle, every organ, every tissue. It damaged you traumatically. You have major subluxations in your neck. And then I'm going to do chiropractic on you. And it's going to get your pain under control. And I'll do more chiropractic on you and it'll correct you, fix the neck curve, and you're going to be good as new. I'm like, okay, makes sense. I'm in. I get a lawyer and I get a medical doctor and I get a PT and I have a chiropractor. And for me, the PT, it was stuff I was doing at the gym with Coach Blockovich at Valley.
I remember Coach Block because he worked at Western and he was my coach at Western High School. Yeah, Coach Block just passed away not too long ago. Yeah.
Heartbreaking.
Yeah, I know. So heartbreaking. We called him Gargamel.
Oh, yeah.
Because he looked just like he should be chasing Smurfs, dude.
100%. And the medical guys, they gave me opioids. And I just felt loopy. And I'm like, well, I don't feel right on this. And that's all they did. So I'm like, well, there's something to this chiropractic thing, right? In the back of my head, it's germinating. And the chiropractor, Dr. Youngblood, she's like, you should be a chiropractor. I'm like, chiropractor. You should be a chiropractor. I'm going to be a lawyer. Be a chiropractor. She's just working on me. About 3 months in, I'm better. I feel better. I know I'm better, bigger, stronger, faster. And she's like, okay, well, let's, do a final exam. Let's wrap up your case. You should be a chiropractor. And does the final exam. And I go, hey, aren't you going to take an x-ray? She's like, why? I'm like, well, because neck curves like this. I was like this and you did this. I should be like this.
Yeah.
And she's like, oh, you feel better, right? And I'm like, yeah, but like, prove it.
Right. Now I need to see the imagery that proves it.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel better,
100%.
but prove it. So reluctantly, she takes an x-ray and then baffling, my neck's still straight. So, all right, imagine this. And just think about healthcare and medicine.
Mm-hmm.
Could you have a condition, an injury, a disease, and not have a symptom, but the problem's there? Well, yeah, cancer, heart disease, diabetes, spinal alignment. So my neck curve's not there. And I'm like, well, that's weird. I feel better than before the injury. but the problem that you said is the cause is still there. I'm going to be a chiropractor. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to find out why what we did didn't fix it. So I'm going to find the most evidence-based chiropractic school in the world, in the country. I'm going to be an evidence-based guy. But I want to be a chiropractic guy because I don't want to do the medication side. I don't want to do the cutting. And I do want to do some of the exercise, but I want to get it more advanced. So I leave the pirate show, ask if I can keep my job, but like come back and work on holidays. They let me. Find a school in LA. It's a program developed in conjunction with Harvard Med. I'm like, this is it. I'm going to find it out. And I go through chiropractic school and I graduate and I don't learn how to fix a neck. I'm like, oh, I mess up. What am I going to do? What am I going to do?
Yeah, because that's a huge life change experience to find out why one question is when you're fixed, right? Because a lot of people are going to get fixed. And if I get something fixed, if it's fixed, I'm like, don't really need to know the answers now. It's fixed. I got other shit I got to take care of. So I got to move on, right? But you're like, no, I need to find out.
Yeah, what's wrong? And so I get a job with one of the most successful chiropractors that graduated from Southern California University of Health Sciences in Phoenix. Work with him for 9 months. Like, this is wrong. They're doing this. It's not fixing people. So like, what did I do? So I quit that job, moved back to Vegas, went back to the pirate show. I got to eat.
Yeah.
And I love it. These are all my best friends. And
what year are we talking about now? This has got to be 97, 98?
Now I'm back 99. It's like 99, 2000. I'd worked almost a year in Phoenix, come back here, just do a pause and a reboot. And like, I'm starting over. Poor, just graduated student, don't have money, haven't built a career, still haven't got it all figured out. Go back to the pirate show. And then a buddy of mine, Dr. Scott Ickes, is like, well, come work with me in the mornings when you're not at the pirate show.
Can I just pause for a second? Because I'm interested in this. Does the pirate show pay well? Right? Does it pay well to be a friggin' pirate?
It's entertainment. What do you think, man?
I would hope that it does, but
so
I think they could get you.
I want to say it this way. We're in the 1900s still, right? Right. So we're in the 1900s still.
Yeah.
So we were making like 35, 45K.
Okay.
Which
is about equivalent to 70, 80K now.
Yeah.
Right.
For me, I was like pretty good money.
Yeah. That's not bad.
Yeah, that's not bad. That's not bad at your age too,
eat.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And I was making that money, since I was 18.
Okay.
So I go to work for my chiropractor buddy and I'm not even making that money. I'm making way less.
It's so funny to say we were in the 1900s.
Right.
Oh, man. What do you mean? That was like, what? That's like World War I, dude.
and this buddy goes, hey man, there's this wacky technique that I think kind of matches your story where they're fixing spinal curves, they're fixing neck curves, they're fixing back curves, they're fixing.
So, but you're healthy at this point, right? You still just want the curve back because you're supposed to have it.
I'm healthy. And then I think this might be the thing that I think chiropractic is missing. I think that like a subluxation means that your spine is out of alignment, interfering with nerve function, causing pain, organ dysfunction. Your body is not realizing its total health. So if one or two bones is out of alignment, if the whole neck is straight, they're all out of alignment. They're all subluxated, right? Why didn't this fix it? Because that's what chiropractic school is the same amount of hours and time as medical school, dental school, osteopathic school, podiatry school.
7 years? Is that right?
4 years of undergrad, 3.5 to 4 years of postgrad.
Okay.
Same equivalency. So like, I'm like, well, did I make a mistake? Should I have gone to medical school?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm trying to figure it out and make a decision. So my buddy says, let's go do this seminar. And these guys are doing this curve correction stuff. And I'm like, at this point, I'm going, this has got to be BS too, right? My chiropractor that inspired me didn't fix my neck.
Mhm.
Chiropractic school, I just did 3.5, 4 years of grad school. They didn't teach me how to learn what I went to school to learn. Like, so
Were you questioning maybe this chiropractic lady was wrong from the beginning?
yeah, I
Mm.
was.
Yeah.
I was questioning, which is the scientific method, by the
Mhm.
way. You're supposed to question
Right.
and challenge
Yep.
and push it.
Hypothesis starts with a hypothesis, right? Yeah.
So that turns into a job offer with this group of guys in Vegas, Mountain West Chiropractic, that they were doing corrective care chiropractic. And they were adding exercise that was very unique from Coach Blokovich.
Mm-hmm.
And then traction. And they were asserting that they were fixing the alignment, and then they'd stop care and the alignment would stay fixed. And they would help you realize better health. Your brain and your body were communicating. So I took the job, and then I'm like, I'm going to prove these guys wrong. This is bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And I had to bring in patients, and I had to do the approach. And I was literally at that point, it's just mimicry, because when you at first you don't have mastery.
Yeah.
And about 3 to 6 months in, I'm changing spinal alignment, changing quality of health, reducing pain. Nerve function is improving. You know, people are breathing better. Their thyroid's doing better. Their digestion is better. Couples that weren't able to get pregnant were getting pregnant. Bowel function's improving. I'm like, whoa. So then I go and I start taking the coursework with chiropractic biophysics, Don Harrison, Indeed Harrison. And I found my love. I found my passion. My light switch turned on. I found it. And it saved me. I stayed in chiropractic because of it, because of these guys.
Wow.
So we pause there and see if we need to reboot and where else we go.
Well, first off, what did you see when you were, what was it? What did you do to help those patients initially that you were mimicking, and then you started seeing the angles that needed to change? What was it like, for example, if you could tell me?
So here's what it is. Chiropractic biophysics, the early work that they started publishing in the late 1900s was, why doesn't the adjustment permanently change the alignment? Why? Is chiropractic phooey or not? And what they figured out is that the duration, the amount of time of the thrust just wasn't long enough. So then they said, okay, well then what if we added in exercise? Exercise is good for you. Like if I have a bad posture, maybe I can exercise this way and that'll fix it. It didn't. Doesn't mean exercise isn't good for you. Doesn't mean chiropractic isn't good for you. So they found traction. So they took a machine that, if your neck is straight, at you in the opposite direction, mirror image traction, do your exercises asymmetrically mirror image, do the adjustment that way, and that synergy, that combo within an hour-long visit done over about 12 weeks was changing the alignment. And then when we would leave the patient alone for 8 weeks or 6 months or a year or 2 years, the correction remained. So what it is we took the adjustment and we did it longer. That is leaving you in the traction for 15 minutes. It's just like orthodonture. It's why doing that to your tooth won't fix the tooth alignment. But if you put traction on teeth over time, it'll permanently correct it.
I see.
Some people need a retainer, some don't.
Mm-hmm.
And so some people need wellness maintenance traction. Some people don't.
So essentially, we can lead into you pretty much creating the retainer for the body, for the spine.
Well, I had a question before we dove into that. Because Ariana, my daughter, was treated by you before, we knew all of each other, but we took her to your offices there off of Decatur. What is it, Decatur and
Aliante Centennial.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And we felt fully confident in everything that you guys were doing there. She was feeling better from doing it. And ultimately, what we wanted to do is not have to have her go through that surgery.
Yeah.
And she still has not gone through that surgery. She still does have some back issues, and maybe we need to send her back.
Yeah.
To get more
Traction.
Yeah, exactly. But she hasn't had to have the surgery, and we're happy about that. That was our biggest goal. Her and she has a curve in her spine, and her, I believe I want to say she's 43, maybe 43.
Scoliosis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah. And so 15 degrees of a curvature when you look at someone from the front is where we hit the medical definition. 40 degrees is considered a moderate scoliosis, and in the 40 to 60 degree range is where we start to talk about surgery.
Right.
So if through care we can keep below that 60, better quality of life, you can avoid the surgery, and we have so far.
Yeah.
Which is a huge win.
And she has what I guess it's the S curve, right? So she has a little bit of a curve on the top and a curve on the bottom. But yeah, it's pretty manageable. She does have some back issues and stuff. So I'm going to tell her, you need to get back over there to Dr. Jaeger, get over to his office and get some more work done over there.
Just the tune-ups, like that. That's the thing, all of us with health, doesn't matter if we're talking about muscle building or weight loss or whatever, everything needs upkeep because we live on the planet Earth. There's gravity, there's oxidation, and chiropractic's no different. It's not, you don't get fixed and stay in a bubble. Scoliosis, we know from the research, it will progress as an adult 1 to 2 degrees a year. So you take a decade, now that's 10 to 20 more degrees. But the treatment is just doing wellness and maintenance.
So keeping that maintenance
keeping up with it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I don't think she's changed much. I think maybe 2 degrees over 3 years.
Solid. That's great.
Yeah. So, which isn't too bad. But yeah, I think if we get her into some sort of maintenance program, I think she'll be good. She's 23 now. So
yeah,
it's a great time to be in maintenance. And there's home devices that we have now that have just even innovated in the time you've been with us. There's something called the Scoli roll.
Okay.
The Scoli roll is a home device that can reduce the amount of time you have to come into office.
Okay.
Depending on the severity of the case, we have home braces now. You can sleep in them. You can wear them in the day.
Alex, pull that up. Is that it there? Is that the Scoli roll? Right
That's
there?
the Scoli roll.
Oh,
yeah.
Great.
Awesome.
And this is developed by Dr. Jeb McAvini out of Sydney, Australia, and Dr. Deed Harrison, who is Chiropractic Biophysics founder's son. He's now our leader on the research circuit. We haven't gone into that yet, but the Scoli roll is an incredible tool.
Fantastic. Well, one question before you get into all this really cool stuff that you're working on right now. I use the teeter hang-ups. Okay. Is that good for you? Because it always takes away my back pain. Like immediately I stretch my back out and I'm like good for the day.
We want solutions to be binary, right? We want it to be on and off switch. And I'm going to give you a comparative example. A woman says, are high heels good for me or bad for me? What do you think?
Right. Bad.
Yeah.
Bad is what we think, right? The truth is that it depends on if you have, and I'm going to be a geek, if you have a lumbar hypolordosis or a lumbar hyperlordosis and your pelvic incidence developmental angles. Okay. So if you have a loss of back curve, you should be in high heels. If you have too much back curve, high heels aren't good for you. It'll take the facet joints where one bone lays on another and it'll jam them and you'll hurt.
So if somebody asks me that question, I'm going to tell them it depends. Okay.
Yeah.
And I'm going to say, call Dr. Jaeger.
Yeah.
He can explain in depth.
And the teeter could be good for you, could be bad for you symptomatically. So anecdotally, you appear to feel better from it. Sounds like that's good. For me to really tell you, I would want to put you in the teeter, hang upside down, take an x-ray of you and see what it's doing to your spine.
Right.
Right. To see. But generally hanging upside down or at a slight angle like the teeter, it's not totally upside down.
Yeah, I do both. So I release because you have a strap that's a limiter and I release the limiter. So I do both. I do a kind of an angled and then I do the full too.
Yeah.
And then I kind of do just stretch out a little
full
bit. But
could have a coronary or stroke risk.
Okay.
So that's the binary. It's gray.
Is that based on time of hanging there or it could just happen?
Could be your coronary health, and hanging upside down might not be good for you. And you may not know because you don't necessarily know you have heart disease until you have a heart attack.
Right.
right?
I just found out.
So that's why Teeter has that strap on it where they want you to put you here.
Yeah.
And look, you might be good upside down. You might not. I don't know. You feel better from it. I like that.
Mm-hmm.
Is feeling better from something good? Maybe.
Sure.
Right. We don't know. We don't know if we don't do like a spine checkup on you and look at your pros and your cons and your limitations. I'm glad it feels good though.
Okay. Cool. Thank you for that, Doc.
Yeah.
Appreciate it. I always wondered, I'm like, I wonder if this is bad. I mean, it's working, but is it bad for me?
Yeah.
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 You know, because I want to be like snowboarding when I'm 70.
Yeah, that's
I don't
totally.
want to be in a wheelchair.
Exactly.
You know?
Exactly.
Yeah. Well, tell us, jump into, all this really cool stuff.
Yeah.
That
So you are the first guest we have had that actually has a patent.
Yeah.
That is phenomenal. It's UTS.
So UTS is our acronym for Universal Tractioning Systems. And so we had mentioned earlier inventing traction. I didn't invent traction.
Sure.
That traction goes back to ancient Greek days. Okay. Chiropractic goes back to ancient Greek days. It means by hand. So Don Harrison conceptualized the machines and the devices under chiropractic biophysics, which he coined 2 and 3 point bending traction. And that is bend your spine in the opposite direction that it is, leave it there like braces orthodonture to correct your alignment. And so a machine came out first that worked on the neck, and then a machine came out that would give you some neck and some mid back. Then a machine came out that instead of working on curves would bend you sideways. And then through the progression, Don's son, Deed, who's one of my best friends, you guys met Deed at the party.
Cool.
Yeah. Yep. Deed came out with the standing thoracolumbar Harrison standing traction unit. And I walked into a conference in Vegas in 2004 and I saw this big, cool machine that was like big, cool equipment. Guys like big, cool stuff. And I'm like, that's cool.
Looks like a big weight gym, right? Is that the one you're referring to that's in your office?
It looks like the machines that Ariana was in.
Yeah.
And so we've got a picture of it up here. So it kind of looked like that without the seat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I first saw it and I'm like, whoa, that's cool. And then I went, that sucks. Because I had the neck machine and they had the mid back machine and they had the machine that did this and then the machine that bent you like this. I'm like, I have to have more equipment. I'm going to have to spend more square footage.
Mm-hmm.
My staff has to learn another piece of equipment. I got to buy another piece of equipment. And his invention was my catalyst where I went, I could do better than Deed.
Yeah, love it.
And then
Innovate.
I conceptualized universal tractioning system with the Mountain West guys.
Mm-hmm.
Those guys back then, Ken Bahura, Dr. Al Simoncelli, we all collaborated on the idea. And we took the concept of the frame that Deed came up with for the low back, and we figured out how to make it do everything. When we started the research and development, we're like, every vector that a vertebra or human spine can bend, our machine's going to be able to do it. You're going to be able to do it standing, seated, laying down, turning sideways, neck, mid back, low back, tailbone, pelvis. That was the genesis of universal tractioning system.
And that's what, Alex, pull that back up, please.
And that's the machine.
Yeah.
So
Awesome.
That's 3 machines. And that's what the office looks like when you come in. There's a bunch of those machines.
Yeah. Scroll down a little bit. A couple of different angles we see here.
Oh, okay.
And so
any video on that? Do we have any video available?
I wonder if we
might be able to
find
dump it
on
in
the
here
internet.
after.
Yeah.
We could dump it in here after.
I have tons of videos that we can dump in after.
Cool.
Okay.
That show
That'd be great.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I mean, there's a lot of
machine-
people that, how many, what is the percentage of people that just have scoliosis, right?
It's a very small minority. It's a huge prevalence to females. It's 1 in 10 to 1 in 20 compared to a male.
Okay.
There's adolescent onset scoliosis and typically it's idiopathic, which means we don't know what caused it. There's some new data that you'll see come out in the research that it might be due to an anatomic short leg. Your femur, your tibia might be anatomically short. That's really common and it's genetic.
Uh-huh.
So basically, if your pelvis is the foundation of your spine, if your leg's short and your pelvis sits low, it makes your spine lean.
Yeah.
But when you lean, your eyes have what's called the righting reflex. So your body does this.
And that's why you get that S curve.
And you get the curve.
Wow.
Right.
That's so interesting.
So that may be, we may pull that indication out of idiopathic, which means, oh, it's a short leg.
Uh-huh.
And then we're starting to look at early research that we've been doing where if your growth plate's open because you're a kid, if we put a wedge in your shoe to make the leg artificially equal in length, that'll stimulate the bone, Hutter-Volkmann's law, to grow, catch it up so you don't have to wear a lift for your whole life, level the pelvis, maybe prevent the scoliosis. And what's funny about this, it's not funny, but a lift may cost $12 to $20, which could avoid $100,000 surgeries and life-altering debilitation.
100%.
If we screen the kid and catch them young enough. But if you
what is that age, right? So I think I remember, if I'm remembering correct, I think Ariana was around 10 or maybe 11 when we first noticed it. And it was from her having back pain. And we're like, that's weird. You know, Melissa, I think, had her bend over at one time and she looked and she thought, geez, your spine looks crooked. Maybe you got like twisted up or something like that. Let's go to the doctor, right? So that was 10.
Yeah.
Is that early enough, or do you need to be earlier? Should parents be looking at these things, and when should they?
If I could decide what the world would do for healthcare, and if we could be proactive, not reactive in healthcare, much of medicine is reactive.
Yeah,
right?
It's all reactive now,
symptoms
right?
and drugs.
It's built around the business is built around that.
Treating disease, right?
Yeah.
What would it look like if we were proactive? So if I were proactive and I could redesign the American healthcare system, chiropractic physicians are on the team. Okay. And when they can stand still, and if you see any sort of postural deviation, maybe X-ray them. X-ray them pelvis to nose, see if there's an anatomic leg length difference and intervene. I did that with my children, and I found, and I did it because my wife has a 14 millimeter anatomic leg length inequality that caused a small scoliosis in her. I knew from the research in my career that it was genetic.
Okay.
I checked them. They both had it. I put lifts in their shoes. I made them wear them for a year, and then I re-imaged them, and I was able to get their leg length to catch up. I've done this, clinically, probably 100, 200 kids, pediatrics in Vegas. And so it's pretty tried and true. If the leg doesn't catch up, so what? Keep the lift in for their life, but it can prevent the scoliosis. Okay. So be proactive. Be proactive with identifying if the normal healthy curves are present in your spine. Why would that matter? We're now publishing in prospective randomized trials with our research team that a loss of neck curve and some forward head will affect your sensory motor reaction time. What's that clinical indication? Military, pulling out your gun, all athletes, football, basketball, baseball, right? What happens if you can increase a second or a millisecond of sensory motor reaction time?
It's the difference between getting knocked out and knocking
Life and
somebody
death.
out, right?
Yeah.
Knocked out and then life and death, right?
Yeah.
It could be getting your gun up in time,
Right.
right? So if I could redesign the American healthcare system, we would be proactive and we would look earlier. And by look, postural assessment, proper chiropractic, orthopedic exams, neurological exams, X-ray. And X-ray is not a scare, right? The research supports that you would have to have thousands of X-rays to your face to even think about it being a risk. The insinuation that X-ray is a concern.
And you're referring to the radiation, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, because the hypotheses in the 50s was linear extrapolation papers based on us dropping the bombs in Hiroshima and Nagasaki.
Yeah.
So they did mathematical prediction papers predicting that if you went below or above certain thresholds of radiation, that it would cause a health concern, because it did with the nuclear bombs.
Of course. Well, and they measured the distance of how far, right? So they can understand how much radiation people were exposed to versus the people who were closer.
Here's a real geek moment, and I'm going to really geek out on you guys. It's called dose response. Okay. So we need radiation. We were born in radiation, and we developed in radiation in the sun. We need radiation to get vitamin D3. Dose response. Now, follow me on this. I'm going to do an analogy with water instead of radiation. You need water to live. No water for a duration, you'll die. Okay, well, so what if I gave you all the water? You'll die.
You'll die.
Right?
Yeah.
But is there a right amount of water to give you where it's healthy? Yeah. We say half gallon, gallon and a half a day. It's dose related. So if I jam 5 gallons down your gullet right now, I'll kill you.
Yeah.
And if I take it away, I'll kill you. But if I give you the right dose, it's the right amount. Radiation's the same. Okay.
Interesting.
So the risk of getting an x-ray, it's the same as flying in a plane. And we travel a lot. I travel a lot. Nobody says, no, you can't go in the plane today. No one even regulates it. Okay. So x-ray, diagnostic x-ray, and frankly, even CT scan, the assertion in the literature about it being scary or a risk, it's preposterous. And there's now hundreds of papers supporting this. So what you'll hear is a radiation phobia person say, your child doesn't have a symptom and you want to x-ray him? Yes. Yes, I do. Because I could catch an anatomic leg length difference. I could prevent scoliosis. I could find a debilitating thoracic hyperkyphosis that will affect my lung capacity or my cardiovascular function. You could have slow sensory motor reaction time because of a forward head posture because you're on a phone all the time.
So you're telling me when I go through the airport and I put my hands up, I'll be okay?
You're going to be okay.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, no, that's definitely good news. Right?
You walk through, you're like, oh, okay, here we go. Radiation.
Yeah.
Scan.
Yeah. Go like this and go,
Yeah. Give me some dose.
Well, I think the threat of somebody having or being able to bring guns through that place is much higher, right? The risk factor is much higher because you'd have a bunch of guns that are on planes or bombs that are on planes that are blowing up planes rather than just a little bit of radiation exposure. So I think we're going to be good, right?
Yeah, totally. So where does your ambition come from?
It's funny because I've got a younger brother and an older brother, and my younger brother, Damon, worked in the neon sign business his whole life and was just pretty status quo. He's happy with that. My older brother is just crazy. He's gone now.
Yours too, huh?
Oh yeah.
No.
Mine, we know.
I'm just playing.
I
love you, bro.
And so why are we all different? And I don't know. Like I witnessed pain with my mom and dad. I witnessed fights. I witnessed physical abuse. They were divorced. My mom left my dad. And I don't know, for me, it turned into, I want to be happy. And then I virtually will never quit. You know, I'll pick a goal. There'll be 1 or 1,000 obstacles and I'll just deviate, adjust, keep going, adjust. I hated school. I was an okay student, but I wanted to be a lawyer and then I wanted to be a chiropractor and I just didn't quit. And I'm like, fine, I'll keep working in the pirate show so I can eat. I'll drive back and forth between LA and Vegas and I didn't quit. So where do I get it? I don't know. You know, my dad, my mom, life experiences. But I like when I get something in my mind, I'm relentless. I don't stop.
Yeah. It just goes to show, you know, with the innovation, I mean, getting the patents, becoming a chiropractor, first traveling around as a model, you know, and then going through chiropractor school, becoming a physician. So you have now created where John's daughter went, advanced spine and posture here in Las Vegas. And you guys have multiple locations.
We do. Yeah.
We're in multiple states.
We're 3 locations in Nevada. We were at 5 at one time. 2 in Michigan. We mentioned Rock Doc, Dr. Alan Sagish. We're both chiropractic biophysics guys, and that's how we teamed up. And yeah, we had a dream. I took what I got exposed to that I told you guys about, the seminar, and then Mountain West Chiropractic, and then Don Harrison and Deed Harrison. And I felt like if we could add a medical degree into that, we could do a little more. We could add a physical therapy team member degree into that, we could do more. I didn't want to go back and get all those degrees. So advanced spine and posture, my vision brainchild, I brought in my medical partner, Dave Golan. He was head of level 1 trauma center at UMC. We're buddies in the trenches.
Alex, pull that up.
And we met Graham Link, who worked for Physiotherapy Associates, and we all bought into the dream. So advanced spine and posture, our core messaging is we've unified medical, physical therapy, and chiropractic for total body health. And we believe that we have something that the country and the world wants. We believe we've revolutionized healthcare. We're drug-free, we're proactive. There's things that I can't do as a chiropractor. There's things that a PT can't do from a medical doctor. And, but we rounded it all out and we one-stop shop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Question for you. You mentioned that, there's a lot of stuff that, you're like, geez, I don't want to have to go back and get this degree, that degree, this degree. But the difference, I think, with your particular business is that not only do you have to be a business person, but you also have to be a doctor.
Yeah.
Right. So which one is leading the way for you? Because at the end of the day, both of those things are important to advance medicine. And I know that you had mentioned too that you're got some talks of some new things that you could be working with and the government with us and all of those kind of things too. Where do you see your platform? Do you see your platform as focused on the business end of things so that you can expand and bring in doctors who have those degrees, who know all of those new technologies and everything else? Or do you see yourself advancing more as a medical practitioner, right, that owns a business?
So I read a book and I had a mentor in mid 2000s. And I'd read the E-Myth, Michael Gerber, and it talked about the painter or the cobbler that works in their business, works on their business. One or the other isn't right. You just have to figure out who you are.
Yeah.
And so I was right about that time where I had done my 10,000 hours. 10,000 hours takes about 8 to 10 years.
Yeah.
So that's where you get mastery.
We've talked about the 10,000 hour rule on this show a couple of times. Yeah.
Working on and working in,
Again, Malcolm Gladwell's book, I believe it's in Outliers. Yeah. So 10,000 hour rule.
Yeah. That Outliers is particularly the Korean Airlines chapter that really changed my life with mitigated speech, something prevalent in Asian communication cultures and British.
Yeah.
Anyhow. Yeah.
That's such a cool topic in that book. It really changed the way I thought about other countries. And how people think and socialize together. It's crazy.
It's crazy. Yeah.
That's why I love Malcolm Gladwell. And I don't read a lot of books. I listen to a lot of books, but I don't read a lot of books. But I read his books and then listen to him.
Totally.
Because his voice is very calming and just so you
do
understand.
It at the same time?
I don't do it at the same time, but I read the book. And quite honestly, I read the books before I had Audible.
Yeah.
And then after I got Audible, I'm downloading all his books. So his books are some of the only books that are on my shelf. And I have all of them.
Yeah. You have to have all of them. If you don't have Malcolm Gladwell's books, get them. They're amazing.
They are amazing.
Yeah.
It changes your life. It is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I asked myself the question, do I want to work in the business or on the business? And I decided I could have a greater sphere of influence if I stepped out of the business.
Mm-hmm.
So then I was like, I knew I wanted to do that. Then I'd figure out how. So I had a neighbor, friend, patient, and I would coach with him. And he's like, Jason, you know what your problem is? I'm like, problem? So you know what your problem
That was
is?
a trigger point.
Yeah. And I'm like, no, tell me what my problem is. He goes, your bar's too high. And I'm like, what? Because your bar's too high. I'm like, what are you talking about? My bar's too high. He goes, you have to lower your bar. He goes, excellence is the enemy of good enough. And I'm like, I don't like you. I don't like that. Get out of my office.
Yeah.
Right. I'll talk to you tonight later.
Yeah,
So
nice.
I had to chew on it. And I'm like, oh, okay. Like what I expect of me in my business and what I do, a B is good enough. I don't have to get the A. Okay. I'm like, okay. So I'm like, that's how I step out as I build a team. Right. And simultaneously at this time, Don Harrison had gotten really, really sick writing the International Chiropractic Association best practices guideline on rate, and then also the practicing chiropractors radiology guideline. He got sick. Deed really had to step up and start running chiropractic biophysics, which is the research arm where I learned from. And then I was getting ready to present for my postgraduate fellowship in clinical biomechanics. And I had to present in front of a group of my peers a PowerPoint presentation on work I'd done in my clinic. So they're like, you have to present a case. And I'm like, okay, I'll present 9 cases. Like, no, you have to present a case. I'm like, yeah, I'll do 11 cases. So I did a case, every region, every segment. And then I introduced to the community that I had developed an all-in-one machine that could do it all. And that could replace these other predecessor machines that were my inspiration, building on giants.
Yeah.
And when I finished my presentation, I think I got a big round of applause. And Deed Harrison, his son, Chris Koloka, another massive researcher in chiropractic, they're like, you're going to be on our team. They're like, you're going to be a star and you belong on stage. And I'm thinking about the shows and the pirate show and modeling and how like they were divergent. Now they're coming together.
Right. Yeah. It's like, listen, look how I trained over here that I never thought I would use that training for what I'm really supposed to be here for. Right.
Yeah. How would walking in Armani in the runway in Milan turn into I'm comfortable standing in front of a
audience
group of academics? Why would I be comfortable? So that brought universal traction into chiropractic biophysics. That he's like, I want you to start touring all over the country and then periodically the world with me, being my assistant, my bitch, and learning and speaking and talking about your clinical work, and let's build it, right? And then that turned into more machines and more patent pendings and a lumbar table and an adjusting chiropractic table. So it just all snowballed. So I had to get out of treating clinically so I could work on the business. Myth, Michael Gerber. Yeah. That's how it started.
Wow. How many research papers have you had published?
I am somewhere between 11 and 13. It's not much.
Are you kidding me? That's awesome.
Not much.
Yeah,
I've got 0.
Yeah, zero.
It's like
amazing.
Surround yourself with who you want to aspire to be. So Deed's in the hundreds. Chris Koloka's in the hundreds. Einstein's in the hundreds. And anyhow, so I've got 11. I'm not the best run-on sentence. I am a good run-on sentence writer. So I'm not the best writer, but the research team gets together, you get concept, you get clinical work, you combine it with the guys that can write and you come together. And so, so I've got 11 so far and I want to keep going.
Yeah. Ambition.
That's great.
Ambitious. Yeah. I love it. So you actually sit on the board of a few organizations as well. Which ones are those?
All right. So I'm on the Nevada Chiropractic Physicians Board. We're the regulatory body for Nevada. To be legal to practice and have a license, you have to go through our body. And that's passing FBI background and testing. And then we also protect the public in Nevada. So I've been involved in Nevada government about 10 years. Yeah. That's one board. I'm the treasurer and the secretary for Nevada.
You pull that up, Alex. You're on it right there. Yeah.
So secretary and treasurer for Nevada. That made me eligible for a national board So the National Board of Chiropractic Examiners precedes the state board, and it's the postgraduate testing. Medical doctors take boards, lawyers take boards, chiropractors take boards, all healthcare providers take boards.
Right.
So we're the postgraduate independent testing body that certifies you're competent, you're safe.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So I've been on that board. I'm going on, I think, my 5th or 6th year. I'm the vice president of that entity. And so we're the national board, and then we're also the International Board of Chiropractic Examiners, where we're getting other countries around the world to raise the bar in their postgraduate education and testing as well. In July, I got invited and elected to be on the International Board, International Chiropractors Association. An association is a different creature than a regulatory body. Regulatory body is we're like policing and education, right? An association is advocacy for the profession. The International Chiropractors Association was founded by B.J. Palmer, the son of the inventor of chiropractic. It's the first and the oldest chiropractic association in the world.
How old is chiropractic?
We're 125, 130 years.
Okay.
Forgive me for not knowing exactly, but so over a century.
Okay.
So I'm on that board, and then finally, I'm on a nonprofit research board, which is Chiropractic Biophysics Nonprofit. It's the nonprofit arm of the for-profit educational seminar group that I lecture with. That's where all the research is done. That's where my small amount of papers have been done, and I sit on that board.
Is that when I text you and you're in some awesome different part of the world doing lectures? You're out there.
All those boards, when we talk all the time, and you're like, "Where are you in Vegas?" And I'm like, "No, I'm in Kuala Lumpur."
Yeah.
and so it's
you're partying.
right.
Yeah, not really.
And so
I'm
all those
teaching.
boards are what allow me to get to do that, and then credit to Stephanie Youngblood, my mom's good friend, who was my first chiropractor, who said, "You don't have a neck curve," who got me to be a chiropractor. Every door that opened that led to everything we've talked about today, she opened those doors for me.
Wow.
She's my mentor.
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Is she still practicing?
She passed, ironically,
Sorry to hear.
from cancer. She had breast cancer secondary to a traumatic auto injury, seatbelt injury on her breast.
Wow.
She asked the best chiropractors in the world who she should go to get her chiropractic. And they're all like, "Jason." She's like, "What?"
Wow. What a moment.
"He's my protege. He's a chiropractor." Goes, "What?" And so I got to come back and treat her.
Okay.
And then we actually together discovered and found the cancer. And then, I basically was with her through her journey. She decided to not do medicine, made it 8 years. Ultimately, it took her. And she had one child. It was her practice, the practice I got to get exposed to in chiropractic. And she gave me her child. And so her practice is now part of Advanced Spine and Posture. And it's our Valley View, Charleston location.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Yeah, that's a beautiful location.
Very cool.
That's a pretty location. Yeah. You got to see it when we opened it.
That's lovely.
Yeah.
You are no stranger to in all the success and all the ambition you have. You've been through a lot. Yeah, I mean, people get on. Even when you're surfing on social media and you see these people who have these fantastic careers and family lives, they've been through a lot too. And when I sit here and I hear all your accomplishments and your accolades, there's a lot of things that you've been through that you've pushed through.
Yeah.
And do you mind kind of talking a little bit about that? Like right as this budding rock star chiropractor, there was things that happened, and I just touch on them a little bit because, in that is the wisdom that, man, how do you get through those things?
So human beings, you don't grow without struggle and strife. Like if you think about your best times in your life, they're great, but that's not where you grow. You grow through your pain. And
100%.
so, right.
Yeah.
And I've had plenty of it. The first one I told you guys about was, watching my mom run from my dad when I was 2 and fighting, right? Beating. While my dad is my best friend and my hero and one of the best human beings in the world. And all of us, right? Like we're all the best and the worst of humanity. We all are,
Yeah.
right? So I talked about practicing in Phoenix, just graduated chiropractic school, tried to figure out if I'd made the wrong choice, moved back to Vegas. Moved back to Vegas, I had to move in with my mom and, was start to build my life and get through national boards and get through Nevada state licensure and get a job. So my mom's husband was abusing her. And she swore to me that it wasn't physical. It was something. You can see it, right? It's your mom. You're a boy and your mom and that bond. And I'm like, Mom, you're not telling me the truth. Like, what's going on? And so um, finally, she admitted that she was being mentally and physically abused. And my mom, we might be able to look her up. Her name is Martha Marina Cannon. Beautiful, gorgeous, brilliant woman. And she, like, her light was going out.
Mm-hmm.
So we talked her into leaving him, and he had snuck into the country illegally from Israel, and we learned after the fact, career criminal, had this whole underworld life. I just
Wow.
knew he was a bad person. I knew it. I told my mom. My mom didn't listen. I was mad at my mom for not listening. I was estranged from my mom for not listening. And finally, we're like, leave him. So she leaves him and he's terrorizing her. So my younger brother, Damon, and I we're living with her so that we could protect her 24/7. And one night I went out with my friends and a girl I was dating in my 20s. And my mom calls me and she's like, it's December 23rd. She's like, son, come home and decorate the Christmas tree. I'm like, no, Mom, no, I'm out. Come on, I want to decorate the Christmas tree and I need your help. I told her no. So I woke up to a call the next morning on the 24th of December, Christmas Eve. My aunt called me and she's like, Jason, your mom's dead. And I'm like, burst out into tears. What? What? What are you talking
Whoa.
about? She's like, her husband, Vitaly, killed her. I'm like, I just can't connect the dots. So I can't connect the dots. So um, we had got him put in jail on a temporary restraining order for harassing her. Family court judge put him in jail, 90 days. We begged the judge, don't let him out. Tell us if you let him out. Lets him out early. He goes to her grocery store, waits, finds her, follows her home, breaks into the house. I'm out, didn't come home. Stabbed her with an awl 50, 60 times, a crime of passion. Wow. Shot her in the heart and the head, and then beat her. Beat her when she was dead. So it was literally an O.J. Simpson, Nicole Brown Simpson. Like he almost mimicked it. And so.
How long ago was this and how old were you?
It was 2000. It happened December 23rd, 24th, the middle of the night. And she was found on the 24th. So we went to the house, went to go see her. They wouldn't let us see her. And, like we're trying to break through the police, right?
Of course.
And they won't let us get her to the morgue. They won't let us. They won't let us see her. The morticians, they're crying. They're like, Jason, you do not want this to be the last vision of your mom. You don't want to see it. So anyhow, I just finished chiropractic school, came back. We're going through this trauma with my mom, trying to save her. This guy murders her brutally. And then I need to go through boards. I need to go through state licensure and I need to start practicing. I was a mess.
Yeah. How could you?
I wasn't okay. So it took me an entire year before I could pull my head out of my ass and get my shit together. I couldn't snap out of it. I couldn't, like I was lost. And ironically, one of my chiropractor buddies, and he's not a country music star, his name's Hank Williams. He went into some pretty alternative, kind of very left-wing facets of chiropractic, different way than I practice. But he's like, Jace, I'm going to drive up from California. I'm going to come see you. I'm going to do some work on you, and you're going to feel like I'm nuts. What I'm going to do to you, but I'm going to do some work on you, and then you're going to fall asleep for 2 days. And I did. He's like, when you wake up, you're going to be back to you or forward to where you need to be, but you'll be back. So like, whatever, man, it sounds like hocus pocus, but he did. And 2 days later I woke up and I was, the switch was back on. I was me again.
Wow.
So, but,
wow.
Growth through pain. Yeah.
We've heard that, during the first night we ever spent together when we were at your party, my brother and I both, we admitted some of our biggest, scariest, darkest fears to you. And it was all in this vein of this conversation where you shared with us too. And, but
so terrible, man. I'm so sorry.
Yeah.
That is so terrible.
We did get him locked up for life.
That's good.
The DA came to us and they're like, we think we can get him locked up for life, like real life, not life means 20, but real life, if we'll come off the death penalty. Of course, we wanted him to die, right? Mm-hmm. Like, I'm your man. You want that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so, but we
must have taken a lot for you to not want to do it yourself.
My grandfather, the one I told you about that liberated Nazi Germany in Dachau, the sentencing day, he's like, Jason, I'm gonna come into the court with a gun. And I'm like, Grandpa, you can't do that. He goes, I'm 90. He goes, I don't care. He goes, what are you gonna do? Lock me up? He goes, I don't care. But I'm gonna come in there. He goes, I have to kill him. And I begged him not to, and he didn't. But yeah, you want, like, it's pain,
it's
right?
So heavy.
So they locked him up for life. He's dead now. He died. They sent him to Ely, which is the maximum security. Good. Yeah.
Good.
And then he had medical, so they brought him to a lesser security, but he died. He died in jail, thankfully. Thank God the world's rid of a villain.
Yeah. Jeez.
And when you were speaking of villains, when you were telling superheroes, when you were telling that story, we're in your backyard and the sun was coming up and there's everybody, it's loud. Everybody's having the most amazing time. And you were talking to us and the sun's coming up in the Vegas. I'm like, how do we never meet this guy? Literally like a superhero. It's like the story of a superhero, like what you've been through and what you're continuing to push and you have a beautiful family. Your wife is so wonderful. Carrie is so awesome.
She's awesome. She's a superhero.
Yeah.
She's a superhero.
Yeah, it's okay. It's behind. It's actually her though. Your sons are so cool too. I've had some really deep conversations. Very, very articulate boys you have, and it's like you have to me, you're one of my greatest friends, but you are like a living superhero right now. How you help people, in your career path, the things that you've been through, and how you've been able to rise from those ashes. It's something. It's very admirable, and I have the utmost respect for you.
Thanks, brother. Yeah. That night, you and I and Adrian, we developed a bond. That's a bond that you've known each other for multiple lives, and deeply and for a long time. And it's never been any different from that. It's just that friendship, fortune, fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's how, and that's what happened with John too. We met John the same weekend that our cousin, the last time I ever saw my cousin. And this life is it's such a trip, because the spectrum of how sad and dark and heinous and weird and tragic things can be at the exact same time. Things can be so empowering, rich, beautiful, fun, joyous.
Yeah.
It's fascinating.
It's fascinating. Yeah. Yeah. And if it doesn't kill you, and I certainly felt like that story I told you about was going to kill me, or people around me would kill me because I was such a mess. But if it doesn't kill you, yeah, you get an
makes you
armor,
stronger,
superpower.
Yeah, for sure.
You sort of been galvanized.
There we go.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah. Man. So we have, you have some more aspirations. Your ambition doesn't stop with traveling around all over the world and doing conventions. I actually want to touch on something. There's something really cool. When you go to these conventions, you're working with professionals, brilliant people in their fields. It can get stuffy. There's a lot of opinions. There's a lot of, hey, I'm the smartest guy or gal in the room. You mentioned something to me, and it is the lifeblood that got us together. What you do at these conventions, so when you're there, you found a way to get people to come together, and that is karaoke.
That's true.
Yeah.
Karaoke really brings you together.
What a brilliant way where you literally bring the karaoke. I'm giving away some secrets here, for the entrepreneurs that are like, hey, how do I get in? I'm going to the workshops, I'm going to the conventions. How do I get these people to like us? Well, here's the wisdom. Okay. Because when you told me, I'm like, man, that's brilliant. I'm over here just trying to connect people by getting on the stages of the bars and recording the music, but music transcends so many different environments, and you found a brilliant way to use it.
Oh man. It's funny too, because everybody with singing, most people start with no, right? But you put on that favorite song, right? And whatever that favorite song is, and you got to figure out different genres for different people. And they're not ready to start, but you start, and the endorphins kick in, and your body starts moving. And again, you just create this bond and synergy. There's a state board member, chiropractor from the East Coast. And I swear he did not like me, and every right would be a left and up would be down. And no matter what, we were always challenging. And I worked very, very hard to find compromise through those interactions. But after a couple of years, the end of one night, we go out to a nice dinner, and then we started karaokeing, and we developed a bond. Right? He's like, I've seen a different side of you. And I'm like, I've seen a different side of you. This is great.
Yeah.
So just another great way that music can bring people together, right?
Oh yeah.
There's so
it's
many
incredible.
Yeah. It's such a cool tactic. And did you realize like, hey, I'm just going to start, because that's you come in and you're surrounded by doctors, and hey, you plug in. What's your go-to song? Do you have one that you're like, okay, I'm gonna show off a little bit?
Yeah, right now, my two where I can operate within my range is Kenny Rogers, The Gambler, and then Don't Stop Believing, Journey.
Yeah,
nice. Yeah. So you can hit some Don't Stop Believing, huh?
And I may have to go low instead of high.
Okay.
Or maybe I just won't hit that.
Or you
note
let the mic go to the crowd.
Right, you start getting the audience going at that point, but. But yeah, those are a couple of my go-tos.
I'm an abracadabra Sugar Ray. Okay.
Yeah. ABBA is really, it'll bring you together. Loverboy is always a great hit.
Nice. Yeah.
So, and then country's easy, right? So I actually don't care for country. I don't like country music.
Okay.
Of all the musics, but in karaoke, it's wonderful, right?
Yeah.
It's just kind of up.
Yeah.
So, but really anything, I love classic rock. I love hair band 90s heavy metal.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah. You can't go wrong.
It's brilliant. It's again ambitious. It's innovative, And I love how it ties into music and it breaks the ice in such a professional setting. So you do have some other things coming up as well. Can you kind of touch on that? There's things you can't say that are absolutely huge and phenomenal and tremendous. But is there any way we can kind of touch on a little bit with all that ambition and innovation you got going in your life?
I don't know why, as a kid, one of the things I always wanted to be, and I said earlier, is I always had a goal to be happy. Like, why would that be a goal? I don't know what past life, right? And then I always wanted to be a senator. So always, and Vegas is a fun, forward-thinking town, right? So anyhow, I just was never sure that was a path that I could pursue, but I've been in government for a while. But I think I have something to say. I think I could help make our state or our country better. And so anyhow, I'm liking the hope that's going on in our country right now, and I'm liking the fiscal responsibility and the accountability. And so I'm making goals, and I'm reaching out, and I'm trying to figure out where we are in the United States today in 2025, where I might be able to jump in and offer something from the experiences I've had. And so I'm working that angle, and I might. Something
that's awesome,
might happen, and I'd love to, if it does or doesn't, I'd love to come back and talk about it.
We have so much more. We have so much more to talk about, and that just the questions that I've asked kind of represents how our friendship is. It goes from the darkest, things that you don't really uncover a lot, but we just so naturally uncover them, and then it goes to the most, hey, how can we change the world? And both sides of the spectrum are very genuine. So good luck, Dr. Jason Jaeger. Thank you so much. Before we end the podcast, we always ask one question to our guests. And if you could go back in time and speak to that good looking model you saw, even younger or at any point in the past, and speak to your younger self, and that younger self would listen.
Yeah.
And you could tell him one thing, what would you say to him?
The first thing that came to mind is don't stop. And I think that younger self did it, but sometimes the path may have deviated. So I think don't stop and totally believe in yourself, no matter what.
That's a perfect ain't done yet quote.
Ain't done yet.
Sir,
Stop.
You ain't done yet. Doc, I love you, man. Thank you so much.
Brother.
Everybody, thank you for being on the Ain't Done
Great
Yet
to see you
podcast.
again, man. Thank you so much. And thanks for all the help with my daughter and everything else too. So appreciated.
I'm honored to have been a part of that.
We ain't done yet. This is such a wonderful chance to have you on here, and we will have you back.
Like and subscribe, by the way. Did we say that yet? Because we keep forgetting to market ourselves here.
Like and subscribe.
Tell people, share.
Ain't done yet. Thank you guys.
Bye.